Hello, Wisconsin. It's Dana Zulik once again. So, I am brand spanking new, as I was saying before, and I can't figure out how to delete the video on YouTube. So, I'll do that later. So, if you happen to see 5 minutes, then just hop on over to this stream. And my apologies. I'll get it figured out eventually. Okay, so tonight we're going to go over what it looks like when the local government colludes with your neighbors to basically um, try if you're doing something they don't agree with. Um, it's a tactic that our local government here in Richfield decided would be appropriate to use. So I'm going to be talking about a group and that was formed in Brookfield. Shocking. Did you think I was going to say Richfield? Anyway, I think it was the town of Brookfield, quite honestly. And what had happened is there is a large quarry that is in Brookfield, and a local contracting company had proposed to restore it with clean fill from the zoo interchange project and then donate it back to the community for like a park or something like that. Well, there was well, I don't know if he's a developer. I guess he would be, but he owned a couple of apartment complexes on each side of the Salina Quarry. And so he didn't like the idea of the dump truck traffic and this and that. So he formed a group called Brookfield Residents Against Dump, and they called themselves BRAD. Well, they hired an attorney named Alan Merkovitz, and this group basically, I guess you could say, chased the developer or the construction company from using their site for their job. So in their opinion, that was successful. So jump ahead. Hold on one second. Guys, I'm live. I'm live. Okay. So I wanted to go over that a little bit. So I like to bring evidence for you. So let me see. Share screen. Okay. Then we're going to go to, I think this is the one right here. Just bear with me one second. Okay, there we go. So I guess we're just going to go through this together. Oops. Now I lost my tab. Where did it go? Okay, here we go. Okay. So I'm just going to kind of go through this article with you. So this is from the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel, and it's by Don, I don't know how to pronounce his last name, Beam. Okay. August 23rd of 13, it looks like. So it says, no one in the city of Brookfield is rallying against a public park with hiking trails and scenic vistas that would replace an old sand and gravel pit. It is the specter of multitudes of trucks driving along West Burleigh Road carrying rocks and dirt from reconstruction of the zoo interchange that has some residents in a noisy wrangle. Transforming the pit into a park south of West Burleigh Road and east of Lily Road is a long-standing goal of the city's park and open space plan, Mayor Steve Ponto said. Even so, campaign-style lawn signs with the message Brookfield residents against the dump are popping up on West Burleigh. The group Brad is planning a rally Monday night at Brookfield East High School. So it goes on to talk about the developer, or I should say the construction company. I find it hard to believe anybody would be opposed to this, said Andy Smith, a resident of Sheraton Road, 4 blocks from the southeast corner of the old pit. He would welcome a park and pond in the neighborhood. So there's, again, the same type of controversy that we're having here in Richfield. So Mark Regal, he says, well, dump trucks dump, and he is the founder of Brad. So he owns apartment complexes on either side of the Burleigh Road entrance to the old pit, Regal Crest Village on the east and Regal Crest West on the west. In a recent letter to the mayor, Regal says, a dump in the backyard of our properties will turn our luxury apartments into vacant buildings. Well, we can kind of see that interest, right? Kind of, So the reason I'm sharing this part is because many of you may or may not know there is a group that was started here in Richfield called Richfield Residents Against Dump. Yep. And they actually used the same exact attorney that this group Brad used. Now, the reason I believe that our local government is colluding with the neighbors is because there's a few things that were said to me before all of this happened, and I found it very interesting. One of the things was when we were before we had purchased it, and we had a meeting with the village administrator, Jim Healy, and attorney John Macy. And during that meeting, a comment was made by John Macy about how this just happened in Brookfield and a group called Brad was formed. And I got to thinking about it. I'm like, after Brad was formed and stuff, I'm like, that sounds awfully familiar. So I started kind of digging, right? I mean, it seems like, how could it be that much in common? And so I looked up the Brad case, and it's like they took the Brad playbook and gave it to the neighbors. There's more than just this, guys. This is just one of the pieces of evidence of many that I have that they're colluding. But so I'm like, okay, they're working with did the neighbors find Brad on their own? Or is it possible that the village attorney and Jim Healy, gave them the community the heads up on how this is what worked in Brookfield? So I think it even said as much in the local papers here. I believe that the Richfield Residents Against Dump actually agreed that the reason that they hired the same attorney as Brad is because they were effective at chasing the person away. So anyways, and then add in all the secret meetings and hiring other attorneys to meet with them, and the village meeting with them, village officials meeting with the neighbors, and it was just something. Anyways, so what I found really interesting is when you look into it, Brookfield Residents Against Dump is an LLC. And I looked, and so is RAD, Richfield Residents Against Dump. So I'm going to go over to, where's the one I'm sharing? Oh, that's a different article. I got to get better at StreamYard. Okay, let me see. Let me try something else. So that's how we're supposed to. Oh. Okay. Here we go. I have a slow computer, guys. Bear with me. Here we go. So, this is the website. So, yep, it's the scenic group. R, and then it says, oh, it didn't take you over there. Why is it not sharing? Oh, it must have opened in the, oh, because it opens a new tab. Okay, well then I'll have to do it like this. I have no idea how I hit that one. This is rough. This is painful for me too, don't worry. We can go through this learning curve together. That's why you have the little fast forward button. Did I do it? Did I do it? Did I do it? Did I do it? Oh, I think I did it, guys. Okay. Well, I thought I did it. Geesh. There's my cursor. So here we have it. The scenic group, RAD. Richfield Residents Against Dump. Mission statement: preserve our scenic community by protecting our groundwater, the safety of our children and residents, and our rural way of life in the Willow Creek and Scenic Road area. So already with the mission statement, it's a little strange to me because, well, isn't that what restoring an abandoned quarry is doing as well? I don't know. There's just, when I look at this, it's a little strange. So it's talking about protecting our groundwater, but when I bring up the fact that there's been contamination dumped across the street, nobody seems to listen or hear about that. Nobody seems to care about the clean fill site that's right across the street from Piggly Wiggly. They don't seem to care about that pit at all. And if the argument is groundwater, well, isn't that where the grocery stores and restaurants are, guys? I mean, I just don't understand the logic here. I tried to put myself in their shoes because it's usually a good practice to get into, right? Like, I wonder how the people in the community are taking this. And so I start to I'm listening to their objections and I'm like, but that doesn't make any sense because this isn't the only gravel pit that was in the area. And Well, there's a gravel pit on Hubertus Road, and that was bought by a company that our village president was the controller for 40 years. So they were able to restore that. They put 100 homes. I believe it's 100. I think they got, I believe, I'm just trying to remember off the top of my head, but I think they got extra 20 home exemption or special something in order to put the extra homes in, because they had originally wanted to mine a whole bunch of gravel out of it, and that ended up not happening. But, there was contamination in that pit. It's just, it wasn't making any sense to me, because if you, honest to God, cared about these things, you would care about it anywhere in the community if these are your reasons, right? And it just didn't make any sense to me. So, but here's their website. Let's see. Join our group, village and state contacts, latest news and posts. So this says 2023, so it's quite recent, I guess, but a lot of their information either they don't realize isn't current, or they just don't care, or something. I don't know. Okay, have I ever talked about how sometimes I feel like I'm a paranoid schizophrenic? And guys, I don't mean that in a negative way towards anybody with mental health issues. What I'm saying is I seriously feel like I have paranoia, because I'm like, people are watching me, you know? So you'll hear me say that a lot on a lot of episodes, because it's like, wait, am I like, what? I feel like one of those people that's like, oh my gosh, the government's out to get me, and all and real paranoid and stuff. And the reality is, all I have to do to remind myself that I'm not actually crazier than I probably already am is to go on here and which one is it? I think I was looking around the site right before the podcast so that I could show you guys. Ready? Here it comes. Oh, it's not the right one. How about this one? Okay, drum roll. This one. There it is. I don't have to wonder anymore. See, guys? The scenic group, rad. Richfield residents against dump. Legit a stock photo of, in this case, they're using a child, which is kind of a little creepy. Like, you're telling your kids to come watch you. Like, I don't know how to take, like, what? What? Regardless, we're promoting just like keeping your eye on me. Like, they're acting like I'm like the Amazon coming in or something. Like I'm this big institution and keep your eyes in it. Nope. I'm just an American, a combat veteran, and a mom trying to run a business. And clearly, I hope I've shown viewers in every episode so far that at this point in the journey, the only thing I had done wrong was not have better public relations or something, because legally there was nothing. Like, I was willing to accept the fact, like, if it wasn't good for the environment, or if it would be bad for the community and things like that, then I wouldn't do it. What really struck me was that it was the opposite. It was good for the community. It actually raises property values, and because once the property is redeveloped and able to be used, that's better than an abandoned quarry. So I went on a tangent. I do that a lot. But the fact is, if I'm ever feeling crazy, I could just come on here. I can look at this. I can go onto the Richfield Residents Against Dump, and I can see for myself that they actually are, in fact, watching me. Isn't that fun? So I guess I can thank the Richfield Residents Against Dump for helping me have a peace of mind and validation that it's it, it's not paranoid schizophrenia. I in fact have people watching me. So I just thought that was funny. But here's the most important part that I want you all to see. I'm just going to be super casual tonight, guys. I'm not trying to win any live YouTube awards. Oh, I got to tell you guys this. So my mom is at a football game with me watching my son. My son's in 8th grade and he plays football. And so we're at the game and we're just casually sitting there. My mom's like, you know, like, are you going to say less often? Thanks, Mom. So, like, I literally have my mom's, like, voice right now hovering over me, like, Dana, don't say too many times. And so then what happens if I think about not saying I want to say too much. I gotta let my dog in. Hold on. Pepper wanted in. You guys will see Pepper. Come on. Pepper is my service dog. Oh. You didn't. Pepper, come here. You didn't make it. Are you a potato? Come on. Good girl. Here she is. Here, baby girl. Say hi to everybody. Say hi to everybody. Yeah. Pepper's a good girl. Anyways, this is the part that I wanted you guys to see the most. So let me see if I can get it a little bit bigger here. So, wait, wrong one bigger. Is it this one I want? There we go. Okay. I don't know. Do you see right there, guys? It says, I keep losing this is hard, man. I'm telling you guys, like you'd think it'd be so easy. Here we go. Okay. Right here. Richfield Residents Against Dump LLC. Like you would think if it's a citizens group, it would be like, this is just me. I'm no accountant. Although the registered member for RAD, the Wisconsin Department of Financial Institutions, is an accountant, I believe. I'm going to pass on saying her name right now. But yeah, so they still keep current. They're still current on Wisconsin Department of Financial Institutions. So what I find interesting about that is the similarities with Brad. It's sort of like, okay, is this truly that you don't want the pit redeveloped? Or does this have more to do with you guys have a financial interest in it, right? Because that's what ended up happening. From what I understand, the Brookfield Residents Against Dump founder proposed to build apartments on one end of it and do a minimal restoration. I don't know. I have to bring receipts for that one day. I'm not sure if he purchased it or not, but I did find an article that talked about where the mayor was talking about how Mark Riegel had proposed apartments on the north end or something. I don't know. All I know is that it's interesting that these LLCs are formed. They look to the community to be like a citizens group, but then it's like, well, what are you going to do with it? Like what? I kept asking that all the time too. I would ask Jim Healy, I'd say, well, what is it that you want the pit to be? Like, if you don't want us restoring it, then like the main people that are interested in purchasing it are going to do the same thing. They're going to want to fill it. And to this day, I've never gotten a good answer. Like, I guess they just put it in their comprehensive plan and their future land use map to be redeveloped. And then they go on to talk about how, you know, in the comprehensive plan, it's written out, oh, there's an opportunity to, redevelop the quarries along Scenic Road and they designate it for quarry redevelopment and all of this stuff. And then all of a sudden, it's like somebody wants to redevelop it. And believe me, guys, I was not the first person to come along that wanted to buy it and fill it. I wasn't the first person that came along that wanted to do something with it. There were other interested parties. In fact, Jim Healy, in a letter to the previous property owner of the pit, actually, I read a memo that it says, I have intimate knowledge of this site, and it is in fact an abandoned quarry. But then the village, a year later in 2015, he's saying that it's a restored quarry, it's a restored pit. And like, I have it like legit on record that this man, Jim Healy, he basically is the one, well, he is the one that wrote the 2014 comprehensive plan. He's excited at this plan. So he has the education to know what the plan should be. The community looked at the plan, the board voted on it, and that's what was passed. But then all of a sudden, was I not the right person? It's like all of a sudden, facts are no longer facts. Facts are now imagination, right? Like they're just gonna change facts. How does it go from being an abandoned quarry to being restored in like a year? It's so silly. But yeah, so that's fun. So I was going to share with you also. So that's the story of Brad and Rad. That I thought I was going to take a lot longer to explain it all, but it's really just very simple. I believe that the government, that the Village of Richfield colluded with the neighbors to form this LLC. It was like their plan to run me out of town. And they admitted openly, open conspiracy, right? In the middle of everything. Yep, that's what we want to do. We want her gone. We want, just like they did to the Salino quarry. Or not the quarry, but the construction company that wanted to fill it. So that was their plan. And quite frankly, that's what our case decided. It wasn't whether or not we could fill the pit. It was whether or not the state or local government gets to oversee it, and the courts determined to prevent discrimination. The lawmakers made sure that the local government wasn't in charge of things like this, of sites like this, because then they would, be discriminatory and arbitrary, in how they treat clean fill facility owners. So it's one of those activities, that's protected. So that leads me into the other pit, since I kind of mentioned it. So Timberstone was part of a quarry redevelopment as well. And that was redeveloped. And it's owned by the company our village president was the controller for 4 years. They're like the same 40 years. They're like the same, they're like sister companies or something. Oh, you got her? Okay. So the Village of Richfield president worked for the organization that Timberstone is associated with. So as part of the plans for that, I had like 5 thoughts run through my head because there's so much about this. It's like, wow. Okay. So as part of the subdivision development, there was an abandoned quarry attached to it. And so they brought in fill to fill it. And what I find interesting about that is, and I'll share with you the articles and stuff, but you know, they advertised that in the Journal Sentinel as new life for Pitt. You know, so what? So if the village president's company wants to redevelop a quarry, an abandoned quarry, and put homes on it, that's okay. That's new life for Pitt. But if Dana Zulik comes along and wants to fill in a quarry, then that's bad and going to contaminate the groundwater. Hey, guys, wake up, please. I'm asking the community to understand that the people you have in charge are not thinking of your best interest. If what happened, if what they did happened to me, they could do the same thing to anybody, and they have. They're corrupt, and I believe that with all of my heart. Again, as I said in a previous episode, it only takes one or two people for corruption to happen, right? Because the rest of them just end up being puppets. They don't know any better. They're listening to, it's kind of like, I equate it to kind of being like in like a toxic relationship, because I've never been in one of those. um, it's kind of like that, right? Like a lot of gaslighting, a lot of groupthink going on, you know, like, oh, jump on the bandwagon of this thought pattern. And, you know, just kind of, it's icky and gross. And I feel so strongly about this that I would challenge you to ask any of your friends that are in like the business of trying to develop properties or do anything. Richfield is a very hard municipality to work with. They're just very, um, they're just difficult. Unless you're one of the buddies. That's we're gonna make special walking hamlet zones. That's where Reflection Village went in. You know, and by the way, I just want to say I have nothing against any of these subdivisions. That's not what I'm here to. I would never. My whole issue is local government. Like, nah, go. like, we don't need people watching us with binoculars, and especially the local government. I mean, like, our zoning ordinances. They're just. I don't know. I don't know what everybody's political um, opinions are, but I like to think of myself as, well, I identify as libertarian. There's no secret about that. But more than anything, I think common sense. Whoa, don't swear, Dana. Common sense. Common sense is a good place to start. And also just, especially at the local level, it doesn't have to be about liberal, conservative, Republican, Democrat. You know, it can just be as simple as serving the community with an ethical uh, mentality, or just serving the community by upholding an oath of office, which includes upholding the Constitution. And the scenic pit issue is a constitutional issue. And like I've said, it doesn't matter if they agreed with it. It doesn't matter if they liked it. What they were required to do is, instead of finding these sneaky, tricky things to do, they could have just followed Wisconsin law and respected it, taken a step aside, and I wouldn't be sitting here 10 years later starting a channel called Local Wars Wisconsin, because Richfield would have just followed what the courts demand that they do. And that's just stop harassing me. So, the next thing I was going to get into, let's see. So we did the Brad, we did the Rad. You know what I'll do? I'm going to plan another topic and then I'll jump on and do another live. So we'll have just a few of them tonight. But I encourage you, I know over time the content's going to get better because I'm confident that this is boring for me to just have it like this. So I like a little more music. I like guests. I plan to have other business owners and residents that have had similar issues in their communities around Wisconsin. And if you watch the 5-minute video that I attempted to start earlier, that went into how I changed the name to Local Wars instead of Local Wars Wisconsin, because I do want this channel to grow over time. And even though we are starting very, very, very close to home, I feel like that's where it needs to start to grow. So I'm going to go ahead and keep telling my story. I'm going to keep sharing with y'all, as painful as the growing pains might be. It's awkward for me too. I'm used to being on the other side of the camera, but we'll get through this, Mom. So we're going to start right here at home in our local community, and I'm going to share my experiences, and then over time, we'll start to move into more interesting stories. I can have people send in videos, articles, maybe have guest speakers on where I ask them questions about their experiences and, just start raising awareness and wake people up a little bit. So thank you for joining me. And I love every single one of you, whether you believe me or not. Good night.